Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Catherine and welcome to episode 3 of Read It or Ditch It, where I try to get my TBR down from 172 books to around 50 books. And last episode we finished at 169 books because I finished reading Heart and Soul and I really enjoyed it, so I had to add the second book to my TBR. However, since then I have read that book. I literally just finished it today. It was just so good. The duology was just so good. I don't know why it's literally so underrated, but I just absolutely loved it. I flew through it. But anyway, since then I have added one book to my TBR. It was Lady Hardcastle book 1. I saw people talk about it on BookTube and I thought it sounded really fun. I love thrillers, so I added that, and we are still at 169 books. I'm starting with The Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I love Agatha Christie, and I think this is my 4th book by her. I started reading her books last October, and I have since read 3 books, and this is going to be the 4th one. And so this one follows our detective Hercule Poirot, and he is on a cruise ship on Nile River, and there's this murder of a very rich young lady. Obviously, he will discover who is the murderer because no one seems to be the guilty one, and I've already started this book. I am 20 pages in, and so far we are introduced to our characters, to the girl who is later going to be murdered, and to a few side characters. And also there was an episode with Hercule Poirot. He was at the cafe and he saw 2 people. He heard them talk about Nile River, and those people also know our character that is going to be murdered. So yeah, I'm excited to read more because I love Agatha Christie. I love her writing. It's always very compelling and it's always very surprising as to who is the guilty one. And yeah, I'm excited to continue on. So let's do it. Okay, so I finished The Murder on the Nile by Agatha Christie last night, and oh my goodness, I think this is one of my favorite books by Agatha Christie. I've only read 4 by her, but anyway, this is very close to ABC Murders. I think her books are very, like, a solid 4-star for me, and I really did not expect the ending. I did not expect the murderer to be who they were. I'm not gonna say he or she, I'm gonna say they, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I was literally shocked because this person had a very solid alibi, and we were not just told about their alibi, but we were a part of their alibi. We were witnessing the scene. It was described in detail, and you as a reader, you would not expect that this person could commit this murder because you are 100% convinced that they have a very solid alibi, and so they cannot like physically cannot be part of this murder. But actually there, after Lynette's death, there were some people who like suspected something or saw the murderer, and so the murderer decided to get rid of them as well, like it happens in detective stories. And yeah, I was like really shook in the end. I think I was only able to guess who the murderer was in one of Agatha Christie's short stories. So I have read 3 novels by her and a short story collection, and in one of the short stories I was able to guess who the murderer was. But yeah, this I was not able to guess, and this is a very fast-paced and very logical at the end. Like, everything ties very nicely at the end. I didn't like that there were no backstory about how Lynette and Simon Doyle got together, because there was just like a very brief moment where she saw him and she liked him, and then the next thing you know is that they are getting married. And I didn't like that it wasn't explained at the beginning, but it was explained in the end. And I think that's Agatha Christie's style, that at the beginning you're like confused, but then everything meets and everything ties together, and it's a great one, and I'm definitely keeping this on my shelves. So I haven't decided what book number 2 is going to be, and we are gonna decide it together. So today's Friday, which means I have a 3-day weekend ahead of me, and I would love to finish a book in these next 3 days because I don't want this episode to be 10 weeks long, because usually I read a book in a week, but if I listen to the audiobook, I like read it a lot quicker. That was the case with our previous book. I was also listening along, so it went by way quicker. And so I chose 5 books from my shelves that have audiobooks available on YouTube, and I'm gonna share them with you. And so this weekend I'm gonna try and read one of those books, yeah, like as quickly as I can. And so I have here The Perfume of the Lady in Black by Gaston Leroux. Then I have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And so the thing with Frankenstein is that I think I want to leave it until October, when it's like a spooky season, like darker outside. So I don't want to read this one. This one is more of a spring book, so I don't know if I want to read this book right now. And also, I would love to read and take notes on this book and highlight things, but if I listen to it, I'm not really able to highlight anything. Same with Madame Bovary. And then we are left with Brave New World and The Perfume of Lady in Black. The thing with The Perfume of the Lady in Black is that this is a second book in the series, and I don't have the first one. I cannot get my hands on it, and it's only available as audiobook on YouTube. And so to read this one, you technically don't need to read them in order, but it would be nice to read them in order. Because what if there are any like spoilers and like confusions in this one, and I don't understand what's going on because I haven't read the first one, so I might as well just listen to the audiobook of this one and then read and listen to this one, which means that we have a winner, which is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is a anti-utopia about genetically modified society of consumption and consumerism, and yeah, I guess there is this one guy, and yeah, there is audiobook available, as I said, so I'm probably just gonna listen along as I read, and when I have to do things around the house, I will just listen to this book. This is like 350 pages, but I think it's doable over the weekend, so let's go, let's do it. So it is time for an update for Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I'm halfway through, and oh boy, have I a lot to say about this book. So this book starts from author explaining how the world works, and at the very beginning, we have this guy director giving a tour to the students of a reproduction center where they are reproducing new babies for this world, and they are raising them. So in this world, there is no mothers and fathers, and women do not give birth as we know it today. And there is a lot of explanation how they are conditioning, and I actually want to say grooming the kids to be as the society and the regime wants them to be. And there is even scenes where the kids are listening to a teacher or a radio constantly chanting one sentence over and over again about different things, even like adult time, and also how they are trying to raise over consumers. So there was this sentence, it's better to buy new than to repair, it's better to buy new than repair, and it's engraved in human brain. And then there was also this sentence, wait a little bit, I will find it, saying that each male, female, and child has to consume a certain amount of stuff each year in order for the production to thrive. And then they also explain how they are trying to make people hate the nature and to just consume and consume, and passion is very big in this world, and that is just very weird to me. But again, this is dystopia, so it is interesting how Aldous Huxley predicted overconsumption and also how he wrote about these really weird things. And this book was published in 1932, so almost 100 years ago. So that is just like wild to me how Aldous Huxley came up with this dystopian idea. As I said, I'm in the middle of this book, and we have met the main character, John, who is weirded out about this world, and he calls it Brave New World, hence the title of the book. And he was actually raised in New Mexico outside of this society. But his mother lived in this society, so he is the son of director who we meet at the very beginning, who is the director of the reproduction center, and Linda, and they go on vacation to New Mexico, and she gets pregnant, which is really weird because they are very, very big on birth control because they believe that women should not give birth and anything. And she gets pregnant, and something happens to her that she disappears, and she gives birth to John, and so they live in New Mexico. And now two characters from London, from this society, they travel to New Mexico, and they discover John and his mother. Very unexpectedly, they meet them, and they get to know them, and I guess they will go to London all together, and then he will live in this new world that he calls Brave New World. And I'm excited to continue. I am not loving this book, but I'm also not hating it. I would say it's a pretty average book so far. It's an okay book for me. I I would give it 2 stars as of now because it's okay. It doesn't mean that I don't like it. And me giving 2 stars to a book doesn't mean that I don't like it. I am just more critical these days, and if a book was just average, I would just give it 2 stars. For now, it's between 2 and 3 stars because so far it hasn't been very personal, and we've just been like told about this world and the world building and how everything works, and nothing has been very personal. And one thing that stood out to me is that passion in adult time is very big in this world, and people basically have multiple different partners at the same time, so they don't have just one partner that they are dating and having the adult time with, but they would have one partner today, the other partner tomorrow, and then like maybe next week they would have someone else. And the weirdest part is that they are not ashamed to talk about their sexual partners while having adult time with someone else. That was just like really weird to me, and that stood out to me. But overall, this book makes you think, and it also makes you confused. And yeah, it's an interesting book, and I hope to finish it today so I can give you more details. But so far it's definitely worth reading. It's a very interesting one. It's and it doesn't feel like it was written almost 100 years ago. It feels like something that has been published a couple years ago because the language is so easy, and it really feels like it was written just a couple years ago. So yeah, I already highly recommend it. Even though I'm not loving it, I think it's a book that everyone should read, especially if you like dystopia. So yeah, this is a very thought-provoking book, and it's also like, I don't know, it's giving me a lot of weird emotions. So yeah, I will continue, and then I will update you. Hello guys, so I finished Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and oh my goodness, this book was so deep and thought-provoking, and it was incredible. Like, it deserves 5 stars, but unfortunately I could only give it 3 stars because I rate books based on how I felt about them, how I was connected to the characters, how, like, what I felt emotionally. This felt more like description of the world and how people live in this world, but it wasn't very personal. I really wanted to be connected to the main character, John the Savage, but unfortunately I could not really connect to any of the characters, and some things described in this book were very strange to me as a modern reader, although a lot of things that Aldous Huxley describes in this book are relevant to today's world, like overconsumption and pleasure and different aspects as well. And honestly, if I talked about how deep and how how many things Aldous Huxley describes in this book, I would be talking for hours, and I don't want that because this video is already going to be very long. But there is an analysis video that I'm in the middle of actually, and it's phenomenal, and I'm gonna leave it down below. It's not sponsored, it's anything like that, but I just thought I would watch an analysis video after reading this, and It really opens your eyes to many things that happen in this book, and I highly recommend this book, and I am gonna keep this on my shelves mainly because I would like to reread it in the future and see how I like it when I'm older, and also how the world changes and if our world that we live in today becomes even more like this world. So yeah, I would say that this is a phenomenal book in terms of personal preference. Not my absolute favorite, but I liked it enough to give it a 3-star rating and to keep it on my shelves. It is time to choose my third book for this video, and I've decided that I want to read something easier and maybe fluffier than the first two books, and I've decided to pick up Out on the Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I've had this on my physical TBR for about half a year now. I bought it with my Christmas gift card, and this one is about Winnie and Win. I think it's Win, not Winnie. Yeah. It's Winifred Win, and she hooks up with her best friend's husband's friend on their Halloween party, and 6 weeks later she finds herself pregnant, and she decides very quickly that she's going to keep the baby, and now they have to decide if they're going to co-parent or how they're going forward. And I've actually already started this book. I am 76 pages in, and I really enjoyed the first part of this book. I'm definitely continuing. I really enjoy the dynamics between Win and Bo, and nothing much has happened. So they basically just met, they hooked up, and then she just had her appointment where the doctor told her that she's pregnant, and she told her best friend. And this is a very fast-paced book, and I'm really enjoying it. And unfortunately, the audiobook is not available to me, so I can't really listen along, but uh, I will physically read this book, and yeah, I'll just get to around halfway and give you an update.
One eternity later.
I think it's time I give you an update on Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I did not update you for the longest time because I actually wasn't reading that much. So last week I was working 12 hours a day for 5 days, and today is the first day that I work half a day. I'm going for an evening shift actually in about 10 minutes. But yeah, I've only been reading for about 10-15 minutes every morning when I had energy before work. And afterward, I was just exhausted. And so I wasn't reading it. And it's not, yeah, as I said, it's not because I didn't like it. I actually absolutely love this book. I love how slow burning the romance is, and although I don't necessarily support and agree with the hookup culture, but it is what it is, and it's realistic, and so she gets pregnant, and I love how Bo is there for her throughout this entire book, and how he supports her, and he says we will raise this child together if you decide to have this child. And I absolutely delighted when she decided to keep the child very quickly, so she didn't have any doubts. She was like, yes, I'm gonna keep the child. And there's a lot that happens in this book, and it's not like she finds out that she's pregnant and 2 days later they fell in love with each other and they're like stay together happily ever after and yada yada. It is not that. It is a slow burn romance, and we don't really see any intimacy between them after the hookup, and aside from like a few little hugs and stuff, but nothing much. But I'm not a huge fan of insta love, but also I don't really like when characters say to each other, oh, I love you, let's be together, on the last page of the book. I really like to see the couple together, and I'm about 320 pages in, so I have about 80-ish pages to go, and they're about to confess their love for each other. And oh my gosh, I'm really loving this book. It was such a big surprise for me, and yeah, this is like a strong 4.5 as of right now. I don't know what happens in the next 80 pages, and if the ending is amazing, then then it's gonna be a 5-star. And a really cool aspect of this book is that the main character is really interested in plants, and she has lots of houseplants, and it's described as like, oh, she has this houseplant, like this jungle, and there are a few circumstances that make Win move in with Bo, and they're living like roommates, and then it's described, oh yeah, I like moved with all of my like so many plants, and then it says like 40 something plants, and I'm like, 40 something? I currently have like 35 plants and my home does not feel like a jungle at all. And then she moves into this house of Bo's and says, oh yeah, I moved in with all of my plants, I hope you don't mind. And yeah, like I really don't see how 40 plants is a like huge obsession unless the plants are absolutely massive and take up half of the room. But honestly, I was hoping that houseplants would be a bigger part of her life. We don't really see her talk about it. We just see her mention them a couple times at the beginning of the book, and then towards the end of the book, they just like completely disappear. I would have loved for her to describe like, oh, I'm doing houseplant chores, I've neglected them, and like, you know, stuff like that. It would be so cool because I've never read a book where the main character is interested in houseplants, and as you can see from my background, you can't really because all of my plants are under the grow light right now. But yeah, I love houseplants, and I was hoping that this person, this character, would talk about houseplants a bit more. But anyway, that's just besides the point. But yeah, I'm loving this book, and I will let you know once I'm done with this book. I need to finish it until Saturday because I'm going on vacation to Italy, and I'm not taking this book with me. And yeah, I just have to finish. Okay, now I have to run to work. Hi guys, so I just finished Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, and I really love this book. So I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I would have given it 5 stars, but there were a few details that were just off for me. But anyway, this was a very good book, and I'm definitely keeping it on my shelves, and it's one of my favorite books of the year. I freaking adore the main characters. Oh, it was just like so cute. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was just so cute, and I was so happy that I guessed the gender of their baby. Like, I know it's not a big deal, but I was just like, yes. So anyway, I'm keeping this on my shelf, and now we need to pick up book number 4. So I've actually already started this book, and it is The Perfume of the Lady in Black by Gaston Leroy, and this is the second book in the series. And I read online that you don't really have to read the first book, which is The Mystery of the Yellow Room. But I actually listened to the audiobook before reading this, and I'm so glad I did. There are so many details, and if you haven't read that book, reading The Perfume of the Lady in Black would be very confusing to you because I can't really tell you much about the story since it's a sequel, but there were just a lot of details in the first book that you don't really see, and then you get so many more details about the characters in this one. And I started listening to the audiobook. I'm about 150 pages in, and I'm actually gonna have to put it down for a week because I'm not gonna take it with me, and I'm also not gonna have time to listen to the audiobook because I'm going to Italy tomorrow for a week. I'm actually about to run out to the bus stop. My dad's gonna pick me up and drop me at my aunt's house because I'm gonna stay over at her house tonight, and then tomorrow we're flying to Italy very early in the morning. I am so excited. This is going to be my 4th time in Italy, and I haven't been there since 2019, I think, and then we were there for just a few hours, like a short layover in Milan, in Bergamo City, and yeah, I'm so excited. This time we're also flying to Milan, and so I've been to Milan, and we are also going to Venice, where I have been, but I'm like so thrilled to go to Venice and actually spend multiple days there because the last time I was there in 2015, we could only spend 1 day, so we were there like as a day trip, but now we're actually staying for 2 nights, I think. So, and we're flying out of Venice very late at night, so we're gonna have like 2.5 full days there, and it is very exciting. And we're also going to multiple cities that I haven't been.
1 week later.
Okay, so I have finally finished The Perfume of the Lady in Black. I actually listened to this on audiobook. I listened to the first book, The Mystery of the Yellow Room, on audiobook, and I thought that this would be really cool to continue in audiobook format. And to be honest, I'm very disappointed in this book. So in the first book, we see this very, very mysterious case of attempted murder where the main villain gets into this yellow room and attempts to kill our main character, and he gets out of the room in a very mysterious way. Nobody can understand how he got out because he couldn't get out through the window because there was someone standing at the window at the moment, and then he couldn't get out through the door because someone was bursting through the door as the main character screamed for help, and there were no holes in the walls or roof or floor, so nobody knows how he got out, but like slowly we unraveled the case, and it was very interesting. And at the end of that book, we have this really cool scene at the court where the main character, the second main character, the journalist who unravels all of the mystery, he explains everything and everything ties together. And then this book starts with not knowing whether the main villain is dead or alive. There is a scene claiming that the villain has died in a shipwreck, but obviously we suspect that he is still alive, because why would the author write the second book with the same characters and continue the story if everything was perfect? And I honestly don't remember much. I think it's because I had a week-long break between reading the audiobook. As I was in Italy, I didn't have a chance to read there, and so I had forgotten a lot of details, but it felt like the characters were constantly going on and on and on about whether the villain is alive, and if he is alive, then who is he, and who is he this time? Who is he hiding as this time around? And although the ending was really cool, and the journalist again explained everything very nicely, and he was the one who unraveled the mystery again, but there wasn't much going on in this book, and yeah, I don't know. I gave it 2 stars because it was okay, and I think I will keep this on my shelves for now, but if there comes a chance for me to sell this book or give it away, I will definitely do it, because I really enjoyed the first one, and this was just a disappointment. Although I really enjoyed this detail that tied 2 of the main characters together, and we didn't see that in the first book, but then there were scenes explaining why the main characters are tied and how, and it was interesting. I actually, going into this book, I didn't know it's going to be the continuation of that story directly, so if you want to read this book, you definitely have to read the first one before, so because like otherwise you would be very confused. So yeah, I finished this one. I am glad that it's off my physical TBR, and right now I've decided that I'm gonna finish this episode here. Although I wanted this episode to be a 10-book episode, I do not have the brain capacity to continue this episode. I've been filming it for more than a month, and I just cannot. I would rather start the next one, and yeah, I would still read books from my physical TBR in the next episode, but I just don't want this episode to be 10 hours long. Nobody's gonna watch. So yeah, we started this episode at 169 books, and we are finishing this episode at 167. I know I read 4 books, but I'm only 2 books down. How is it possible? That's because I've added multiple books to my TBR from my 2025 release folder to my TBR folder, and so we're now at 167, and yeah, I've actually been thinking how to change this challenge a little bit next year, because if I keep buying and adding more books to my TBR, then it's just gonna be a never-ending loop of me reading some books and adding more books and reading some books and adding more books, and it's just gonna be the same number. So if you have any suggestions, leave them down below, but for now, I think we are done with this episode. I want to get it out for you guys real soon, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have watched it until the end, thank you very much, and don't forget to subscribe and like and comment, and I will see you very soon. Bye!